by chance. So we're going to continue talking about Mesopotamia. Oh, I said we'd watch the video again, huh? Let's go do that.
Yes, you do.
We're going to go watch the Mesopotamia video again.
Yes.
Have you seen this? Oh, you're in for a treat. Okay, let me go find it.
My volume's all the way up so I can hear it.
Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically.
Okay. So I'm gonna play it again, but here's his mics need to be off so that there's no feedback and stuff. We're gonna watch it, and then we're gonna read an article today about Mesopotamia. It's only 1 page long, and then we are going to kind of fill out a chart that has to do with some of the things that were in the article, and then do a little bit of a map just to kind of make sure we understand where Mesopotamia was in the modern day world, right? So we're going to start with our video. Enjoy. Have a good time. Here you go.
Euphrates River. Hey, I got a new lesson for you about ancient Mesopotamia. The Euphrates River and the Tigris River form the cradle of civilization. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Persian Gulf where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, both the Euphrates River and the Tigris River used to flood, bringing lots of fertile mud. But the problem was that water washed away the crops. Dams and levees made it stop when it was dry. They'd irrigate. Fighting over water led to war between the city-states. Uniform is ancient writing that tells us Sumer city-states were always fighting. They were the first civilization in Mesopotamia. Then came the Akkadians who started Empire Mania. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulf where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. King Sargon got real old, told his sons to take the throne, but the huge Akkadian empire would fall out of their control. Then came Hammurabi, who would take full command. Hammurabi was the king of the Babylonians, man. Babylonia was the land where they told you obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code, and you'll be saying, oh no. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulf where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Babylonians built roads. They traded grain for gold. They kept themselves united under Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code, which was a bunch of laws they believed it had no flaws. They obeyed it just because they thought Hammurabi was chosen by the gods. Oh, chosen by the gods. Oh. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulf where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River.
Okay. So there's our amazing song again for you. So what are we doing today? We are going to read the article. I got lost there for a second about what we were going to do. We'll play the video again tomorrow at the beginning of class, not at the end today. But we're going to read this article and then answer some questions. Before we do that, let's do a little bit of a review. Who can tell me what two rivers Mesopotamia was in between? What are the names of those two rivers? Who remembers?
Euphrates and Tigris.
Good, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River. And then in the middle was Mesopotamia. Anybody remember what they called it, the land in the middle?
Mesopotamia.
Well, it was Mesopotamia, but they also called, they had another name. Any ideas?
Iraq?
That's where it is now. So Iraq is where Mesopotamia was, like, in modern day. It would have been in modern day Iraq. But that area in between, they called it the Fertile Crescent, just because when it would flood, the two rivers would flood and the land would be covered with water. And then once the floodwaters would go away, it would leave really, really good soil for them to plant their crops and stuff in. So that's why they called it the Fertile Crescent. What else can we do a little review on? Does anybody remember what the writing was called? What they called their writing?
Hieroglyphics?
You're on the right track. They did kind of use hieroglyphs. They had a specific name for it, though. Starts with the C, if that helps. No? That one was called cuneiform.
Mine? What? The never mind. I can't read.
Yeah, the writing from back then, they called it cuneiform. Let's see, one last question. Anybody remember the name of the laws? What did they call the laws? Like they're written.
Hammurabi's
Yeah,
Code.
Hammurabi's Code. Good. So yeah, that's just kind of an overview. Let's go ahead and read that article. So for you guys, you can see my screen, correct? We're good? So on Google Classroom, we have an assignment that posted, I believe, down in Social Studies. Yep. It's called the Mesopotamia River Valley Chart. There's two things here. One of them is going to be the article that we're going to read. Nice and short article. And then the other one is two Google slides. So there's one that has a chart on it, and then the other one has a map on it. So we are going to complete the chart, but only for Mesopotamia. We're not going to complete the chart for any other place because we're not working on them yet. When we get to talking about Egypt, we'll fill out that part of the chart. When we talk about India, and then when we talk about China, but we'll just.
So we don't put it in yet until once we finish all of them?
Well, I'll just keep giving it back to you so you can turn it in once we complete it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we're only going to fill out the part where it says Mesopotamia, no other parts.
Okay.
So we have the Google Slides open, and then let's go ahead and open our article as well. I'm going to zoom in on it because it's really small. There we go. Mesopotamia. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a minute to get those open. Once you're there, let me know so that we can read that all together and then work on those problems. Sneeze. For social studies
I'm
today,
there.
awesome. For social studies today, as long as you're following along and you fill out the chart with us and you do the map with us, you won't have any homework or work to do later. So just following along today is going to be really beneficial. So I would suggest that, because from what I can tell, it seems like there are some of you that are on our Google Meets every single class, but the work's not getting done. So if you follow along, It'll be done. All right. Cool. Looks like a lot of you guys are there. Let's go ahead. Oops, wrong one. And read the article first. I'll read it because I'm just going to. When we get into in-person, you guys will read more. But Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was an ancient region in southwestern Asia, located in modern-day Iran, that is now known for giving birth to the first human civilization. This region has earned the nickname the Cradle of Civilization because it is believed that it was in Mesopotamia that humans first gave up hunting and gathering and settled on farming as their primary mode of survival. If your mic's on, go ahead and mute it for now. Most people in the region settled in the southern section between the Tigris and Euphrates River. These rivers provided early settlers with very desirable place to live, on which to build a permanent settlement. Not only did the Tigris and Euphrates River provide settlers with reliable water supply, but once the rivers receded from their occasional floods, they left behind rich silt that was used to grow crops. And silt is soil, basically. The reliability of fresh water led to a sustained agriculture, which encouraged humans to give up their nomadic ways and create the first societies the world had ever seen. Does anybody know what the word nomadic means? Nomadic. Or nomad without the IC?
No.
No?
Like what they did or what something happened
You're kind of on the right track. So
or tradition.
The word nomad comes from people always like moving and settling in different places. So nomads kind of wander around and don't settle in one place. So the ability to make a settlement, Mesopotamia, in between two rivers, that means that humans were able to stop being nomads and just finally settle in one place. So humans nowadays aren't really nomads at all. There's not many people that just travel.
Unless they're in a circus.
That's true. They're kind of nomads. You're right. All right. Next paragraph. The first people who settled in southern Mesopotamia were known as the Sumerians. The Sumerians, or Sumerians, it depends, built city-states that consisted of a city surrounded by farmland. While the land was flat, fertile, and rich with fish, ducks, and geese, the unpredictable flooding of their rivers caused the land to be very dangerous. Water levels varied. Why does that sound so weird? Anyway, the water levels varied widely. Those who settled upstream near the river's source in the Taurus, I can't read today, guys. I'm sorry. The Taurus Mountains enjoyed a consistent and robust water supply. Settlers who settled upstream maintained a level of control over those who lived downstream. They could easily cut off the water supply to the downstream Sumerians by damming the water, so building a dam so that the water wouldn't flow anymore. This tension over water rights was the subject of many wars between the Sumerians. In order to protect their people and secure their water, leaders created standing armies and even started to build walls around their cities for protection. So again, this is kind of where civilizations were starting to fight over different resources, because water is a resource that everybody needs. Everybody needs water to survive. So they started fighting over water, and that led to them building walls around their cities and just creating security and things like that. So it's just kind of the first time that we're seeing wars and buildings along this scale. Our next paragraph says, Sumerian society was structured in a very simple way. It relied on grain, which is like bread and all kinds of things like that. The lush farmland created a surplus of grain, barley, and other oats, and this is how workers were paid. Since there was a large surplus of these crops, many people were able to leave farming to pursue other professions. Some became merchants, artisans, and government officials. Eventually, the Sumerians would make some of the world's most remarkable inventions. such as the plow to help till soil or the sailboat to reach faraway lands. They also created a number system based on the number 60, a system that is still used to measure seconds and minutes. So they created the length of a minute and hours and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. On the right over here, we can kind of see, it's a little bit small, Mesopotamia and where it was. And you can kind of see the two rivers. Again, it's really small, but you have the two rivers there, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Okay.
What's that third one? There's a third one.
I'm unsure. I wonder if it says it on the bottom one. The Euphrates River, Tigris. It doesn't seem to say.
Maybe it's just some random river.
Yeah, I'm sure people settled around them as well and wanted to stay near those water sources, but they weren't the two huge main rivers, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's probably just like a little canal.
Yeah, something like that. Our next one, paragraph. As Sumerian society faded away, they were replaced with an even more sophisticated people, the Babylonians. The Babylonians occupied much of the same land of their Sumerian predecessors and emerged to dominate the region during the reign of King Hammurabi from 1792 to 1750 BC. Hammurabi is best known for the Hammurabi Code, the first set of recorded law that is best described as an eye for an eye justice. Have you guys ever heard that term, an eye for an eye?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody know what that means?
No. I think I know what it somewhat means.
Go ahead. What do you think it means?
It's like, let's use a secret as an example. If you tell somebody a secret and they go around telling everybody, that would technically be somewhat of a meaning for an eye. Like that person would do something back to them.
Kind of. So it's like a reciprocal type of thing. You would do something bad, something bad happens to you.
So it's like consequences.
Yeah, the most, I think, famous law that comes from that, so the eye for an eye rule. They had the law, I'm pretty sure, that if you stole something, so like you're down in the marketplace and you steal a loaf of bread and you get caught, the consequence is that they'll cut off your hand. So you steal something, they cut off your hand. It wasn't very, it was very brutal back then. We'll just say that. But that's kind of the eye for an eye type of justice.
Very brutal.
Yeah. Laws have gotten a little bit more sophisticated since then, I would say.
But it was brutal.
It was, for sure.
It might be still like that some places. Maybe just like,
No, I don't think it's as brutal, but there are some places that if you break the law, you can get some pretty severe consequences, that's for sure. All right, let's read our last paragraph. Over time, Mesopotamia would see a number of different empires rise and fall, from the Sumerians and the Babylonians to the Assyrians, Persians, Romans, and even the Ottomans. Each group would continue to learn from those who came before them while adding their own contributions to the region. So in this same area, Mesopotamia lasted, it's the purple part of this chart timeline. So from 3,500 BCE to about 1100 BCE. No, that's not right. Yeah,
what does the E mean at the end, like instead of BCE?
That's a good question. Mr. Turner, do you know what the E stands for? BCE. I only know BC.
Here, I'll look it up real quick.
Okay. I think Mr. Turner knows too, so we'll see what you guys get. And then when we talk about Egypt, that will be the blue section. Goes from this part to this part. Before Common Era. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So when you say BC, does that mean it's before Christ? And then BCE just stands for before Common Era?
That's what I thought. I knew that, but I just forgot it.
I guess so, yeah. I don't know. That's true. Yeah, I think it depends on who you're talking to and what they're gonna, yeah, it varies. But we know that it's the 0 year, and then BC is before that, AD is after that. We'll talk about India too, this like maroonish color. We'll talk about that time period, and then we will also talk about China, which is this green time period. And then we'll talk about ancient Greece too, but they're not really in this area as close. You can't really see Greece on this map as well. It's there.
My favorite song out of the ones that we watched earlier is the Roman Empire one.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That's a good one.
Funny.
Yeah. All right. So there's our article. I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit. On our chart, on this one, we're going to have to zoom in because it's tiny. I can't read it, to be honest. Do you guys, if you're looking at my screen, to zoom in, it's kind of on the left. There's a magnifying glass. If you click the down arrow, I think maybe 100 might be good. Oh, yep, 100's good. It'll zoom you in pretty far, but you can use your arrow, the side bar and the below bar to get you where you need to go. So we're at Mesopotamia. So go ahead and zoom in and get there. Once you're there, let me know.
How do you zoom in?
I'm there.
If you're looking at my screen, to zoom in, it's kind of on the top left-ish. There's a magnifying glass, and you can click the down arrow. I clicked the 100, and it zooms you in pretty far.
What's the second slide for?
That we're gonna follow the directions, and there's some stuff about putting. Well, we're only gonna put number 1 on the map, so we won't do too much with it. But we're gonna place the number 1 on the map of where Mesopotamia is, basically. So let's go ahead and look at the chart. We're gonna describe. Wow, my talking is really not working today. We're going to type in the rivers that are associated with Mesopotamia. We're going to estimate using the chart on our article where or what time Mesopotamia began. We're going to use our article to describe the major cities or the empires that were there. And then 3 facts that describe the way of life. So we can use the PowerPoint yesterday as well. And then 2 major accomplishments of the civilization. So we're going to fill out this chart all together. You don't need to do any of it on your own. You can type what I type. So let's start with the rivers. What are the 2 major rivers of Mesopotamia?
Tigris and the Euphrates.
Good. The Tigris River and the Euphrates River. So those are the 2 main rivers that Mesopotamia used to survive. Give you a second to type that. I'm going to go look something up.
So was Mesopotamia in the middle of it? Like in the middle
between the 2 rivers. Yep.
So it's kind of surrounded, kind of, but not really.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, essentially. That's why they chose that area, because when the rivers would flood, like we talked about, the rivers would flood and just leave really good soil behind that they were able to grow their crops in, which then they used later to do all their trading and all of that stuff. And they created jobs because you needed to do all the farming with it. So settling between these 2 rivers created a great place for them to like actually create a civilization where they could stay instead of moving around like they used to as nomads.
Does the guy who sings it still make more songs like that?
I am not entirely sure. I'm not gonna lie, Mrs. Mills found that. So
They probably take a while to make.
they probably do take a while. Because you gotta write all those lyrics. And you gotta know a lot about these places too.
Yeah, and then you put your lips in a statue.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that part. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, there we go. What does that say? Okay, our next one, the beginning year. So we're gonna estimate when it seemed to start. If we go back to our article, and if you're looking at my page, we had a timeline on the bottom here. And if we look at I almost said Mesoamerica, Mesopotamia, what color should I be looking at? Purple, blue, red, or green?
People.
The purple. And the beginning of it is on the left over here. So about what year did it start? Did they settle?
3,500 BC.
Good. 3,500 BCE.
China started a while ago, like a very, very long time ago.
Actually, so this timeline is going forward in time. So Mesopotamia actually started about 3,000 years before, about 2,000 years before China. So if you're on the left, you're actually farther back in time, and the farther right you move on the timeline, the closer you get to now, to modern
This is
day.
fun. I like doing this.
Good. I like social studies too. Social studies and science are interesting. You always get some good stuff out of it. Here's what you're typing out, just so you know. We're not doing complete sentences here. We're just filling out our chart. While you guys are typing that, why don't you go ahead and go into the article and see if you can figure out which major cities or empires are mentioned about Mesopotamia, if any. And maybe just look through the article, see if there's any major civilizations that are mentioned.
Babylonia.
Babylonia could be one. That's an empire that happened during it, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yep. There was another major one too. So Babylonians, they came after a certain amount, or one other set of people. What were they called?
If you think about it, that was a very, very, very long time ago.
It was a very, very, very long time.
That's over, I don't know, how many years ago was that? Over 1,000 for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's probably about 5,000 years ago, if we do that math correctly. Like 5,500-ish.
Yeah.
I think. I believe.
It's a lot.
So you are correct. The Babylonians are one set of people, civilizations that settled. There was one before them, though, that we talked about the most. They're mentioned in the second paragraph. And I have it up on my screen if you want to see it there too.
The Sumerians or whatever. Sumerian.
Yeah. Sumerian.
Yeah.
So, oops.
Babylon, and Sumer.
Good. So we're gonna type both out. Oh my gosh, would this please stop moving? When I type on this, it's not typing on yours, right?
No.
Okay. We have the Sumerians, the Babylonians. There was a couple other ones, but these two are going to be the most.
Yeah, because they're like the most known.
Yeah, they're the most prominent ones. They also talk about the Assyrians, Persians, Romans, and all of that stuff, but we talk about those ones in the other areas. So the Sumerians and the Babylonians are going to be the most important here.
I wonder when the city was like broken apart.
Well, the end time, so that purple line where it cuts off, where it ends, is about the time where the city was abandoned. I don't know when it like collapsed or how the ruins happened, but when that line ends is when the city would have been abandoned and nobody really lived there.
Like if you do the math right, it would be like, would you add or subtract in that? Well, you don't really know what Egypt was though.
Let's see if we look at it. So it's about 1100 BCE, so 1100 BCE. So you need to add, you add.
For Egypt, you'd probably just leave that one out, maybe,
Yeah,
or estimate.
yeah, I would just estimate it. But it was probably about 3,000 years ago that the Sumerians died off. Okay, let's look at, what's our next one? 3 facts that describe, oops, too far, the way of life. So what are 3 things that we've talked about that describes life in Mesopotamia?
It'd be like
What are
11. I did the math. It's like 11,500, I think. If I did
Is
it
that
right, I think.
what math are you trying to
I
figure
was
out?
adding the all of them. I did 3,500 plus 3,000. I got 6,500. Then I added that. I got 9,000. Then I added that. Then, oh yeah, dang it. No, 9,500, which equals 11,000 plus 500 is
Yeah,
11,500.
and you're on the right track with adding here. But the thing is, where all of these lines are actually overlap in time. So these civilizations were all happening around the same time. So we can't add together all of them to find out how long they were around. This is just a timeline to show when they were there. So Mesopotamia lasted from 3,500 BCE to about 1,100 BCE. And then Egypt is about 3,100 BC all the way to about 500 BCE. So they're overlapping at some points, and they probably traded with each other and things like that. So we can't add them together to find their time. We just need to figure out the distance between the two. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these ancient civilizations overlap in their time periods, and they trade with each other for goods and like services, and they figure out how to build boats and all of that. It's pretty cool.
So they're all like friends, kind of.
Some of them
Yeah,
are
like
friends. Some of them
like
really hate each
shared.
other.
So yeah, they all shared a little bit though.
Yep, it depends for sure. But they did try to trade with each other because some places had this thing that was needed, and other places would have this thing, and they would trade for each other, right? Alrighty. Let's go back to our chart and describe 3 ways of life. What's something that happened in ancient Mesopotamia that could describe a way of life? The PowerPoint from yesterday might be a good
War,
resource.
maybe?
They did have war. What did they fight over? A war where they fought over what?
Water.
Okay. They fought over water at one point. What else could describe a way of life? What other kind of things did they have?
Good soil.
They had good soil. So when you have good soil, what occupation do you typically have with that?
Good
What job?
good plants and stuff.
But who has to take care of all that stuff? What are they called? We have them now still.
Farmers.
Farmers. So farming, all right. Farming was a really good way of life. A lot of people were farmers. And then what else? What other things describes the way of life? You could think about yesterday when we talked about men versus women in the society. What do we know about that? Any other ideas? No? Let's see. Did they invent
About
anything?
school, like school.
Yeah, who went to school? Who was allowed to go to school?
Boys only.
Boys could go to school. What about the women? What were girls allowed to do?
Learn how to be a housewife.
Yeah, they couldn't really do a whole lot. Girls learned, all right, how to, I'm going to say be a housewife because that's basically what they did. They didn't really get to do a whole lot else. They couldn't go to school. They didn't get to learn how to read and write. They really just learned how to cook, clean, and take care of the house. Okay. Sorry, I'm just moving this a little bit. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to type that out, and then we'll do our last box. Yeah.
So these were like the people that kind of started the world a little bit to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Kind of. So these people are the first people to ever like actually stop going from place to place to find the things that they needed and found one place in between the two rivers where they could settle and actually stay instead of having to move every couple of years because they run out of resources.
There must have been not a lot of people then.
No, when people were nomads and they were moving around and around, they didn't have like townfuls of people. It was like small bands of people is what they called them. I want to say it was probably between like 20 to 30 people that would move around together. They would find the resources that they would need for a while, settle for a few years in that one spot until they used all of the resources,
And
like any good plants and stuff, and then they would move on to another area.
That's just kind of weird though.
It doesn't sound like a great way to live. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
All right, our last box is 2 major accomplishments for the civilization. We just talked about it. What's one major accomplishment for this civilization?
Water and like the rivers next to them that they found a spot where they could settle.
Yeah, they were the first settlement. So Mesopotamia was the first major settlement. So the first major place where people actually stayed. And then what other accomplishments? Did they invent anything cool? Did they? What else?
Miss Jones, I don't know what we're talking about because my computer stopped working after a while.
We're on the very last box of our chart down on the bottom. 2 major accomplishments.
Oh man, so I missed it.
That's all right. I can give it to you later. And what other major accomplishment did they have? Any ideas? What else did they invent or anything like that?
Like what thing? Like things that are still used now?
Yeah, or like the idea of those things is still used now. There's one major thing that they had that we still use all the time.
Fishing nets.
Farming.
Fishing nets, farming.
Water.
Those are good. What else?
Water.
I'm thinking
School.
Water is always around. Well, yes, school they did as well. Still thinking of something else. Trying to try and give it away without giving it away. It's a job now. I don't know how to describe it. I'm thinking of Hammurabi's code.
Like laws.
Yeah, the laws. Hammurabi's code.
Hammurabi's code.
I don't remember how to spell Hammurabi. H-A-M. Where are we at? There it is. Hammur. Hammurabi's code, which was a set of laws. This is a big thing. It's the first area that actually created a set of laws to live by. No matter how strict they were, they still had laws. And nowadays, everywhere you go is going to have a set of laws to abide. And break that law, it's not good.
You'll be saying, oh no.
Right, I'll be saying, oh no. Alrighty, I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit, potentially. A little too far.
I can't see the last one.
Smacking their keyboard.
Miss Jones, how do you zoom in?
It's on the top left. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
If you're up on the top left, there's a thing that says zoom,
Okay.
and you can do. I would do 100. It'll zoom you in pretty far.
Okay.
All right.
Can
I
you
think we're
edit,
gonna go. Can you what?
edit the amount of like you could zoom it in?
You know, I don't know. I was just looking at that, and it wouldn't really. Oh well, I want to go out. Hang on.
You probably
I don't
could zoom
know
in
if
from the side. I think that would might work. If you
Yeah,
zoom
it
in from
doesn't
the
seem
side.
to want to let me. So I do not believe so.
So we can't edit the thing of how much we can zoom in?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. So there's our boxes. Do you guys need a second, or are we good on these things?
I'm good.
Anybody else? We're still good. Alrighty.
Like a minute.
Just a minute to just finish it up. Okay. Just gonna check that real quick. Okay. Let's stay here for about 1 more minute, and then we're gonna go to the second slide and place our number 1 on where Mesopotamia was.
When you
And-
present, can you not see our like the little boxes that we sent in the chat?
No, so what you guys see on when I present to you, you guys can see my whole screen. I can't see your guys' stuff at all. So, nope. That's why I always go back and forth between our Google Meet, where like the tab that has our Google Meet, and then whatever we're doing.
I know a way how to make it to where you don't have to keep going back and forth. You open up 2 Googles. You make it to where there's like one on one side of the screen and one on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, there's a way to do it, but I haven't figured it out or tried really. Kind of okay with the way we do this. Alrighty. And then I fixed my typing error. Is that Talisha that told me? Yeah, thank you, Talisha. Alrighty. Let's go on to slide 2. Oh, and then zoom out again. 50 would probably be good. When you zoom out, go to 50 and then just
Is Iraq in Africa or in Asia?
good question.
Is also I also have another one. Is Iraq and Iran the same thing?
No, Iraq and Iran are different places. They're right next to each other, but they're different places. And I don't know exactly
because
what.
on the thing on the PowerPoint that you were just on the
How do you lock me now?
Yeah.
thing
The way
it said
that
Iran.
Yeah, the way that it probably was is Iraq and Iran are right next to each other, so Mesopotamia probably goes into both of the modern day Iraq and Iran.
Like half kind of here and here.
All right. So on this one, all we need to do is move our number 1. It says place the circle on the map with a 1 inside to denote the Tigris-Euphrates civilizations. So if you hover over the 1, you can move it around. Okay. We need to place this 1 where those civilizations are. Now this is a map of, so we have Africa over on the left right here, Europe is right here, and then you got big Russia over here, Asia, all kinds of stuff. We need to place this in the correct spot as best as we can. There is a map on our thingamajigger article. If you look at the shape of the area, see if you can find it on our map as well. So Mesopotamia is right
I
there.
found it very
See if you
quickly
can
from
find
looking at that. Already found it.
You can actually see the rivers too.
Uh huh.
Yep. So when you're looking at the map on our article and the map right here on our slides, I'm kind of circling the area with my mouse right now. It's going to go in this area over here. We need to find the two rivers. Do you guys see the two rivers when you get closer and closer?
Yeah, where your mouse is touching, that's where it is.
Yep. So we just need to move that one.
I bet you where the rivers are, they probably connect into those empty spots right there.
Yeah, that goes down into the Persian Gulf, I think. I believe that's the Persian Gulf. And then out into whichever ocean is right there, which I don't actually know which ocean that is. And I can't read from my map. It's too far away. I'm not gonna lie, geography is not my strong suit. So we'll get through that stuff together. So you just need to move the one right on top of where the Tigris and the Euphrates River are.
Just so you can see it a little bit.
Yep. So that's social studies for the day. I have a video that we could watch.
Did you say a video?
A video. Yeah, it's a brain pop video. It's not super long. I'm thinking we'll watch it today. Let's go watch it today. So once you fill out your chart and you move the one to the correct location, you can, I can't on mine because it's a teacher view, but you can turn in this assignment. If you've been doing it with us.
Would share be the same thing if you hit share?
No, share means that, no, share is different. Share is like who gets to see the document, basically.
Oh, because I've been doing that on art, and I'm not sure. I think that's not what I'm supposed to do.
So we only have to do Mesopotamia.
We'll only have to do Mesopotamia. Yep. We'll fill out the
Yeah,
parts
I
of
can
Egypt, India, and China later. Okay, so while you guys work on filling that in, I'm going to go pull up the video we're going to watch, and then we'll be done for the day.
Can we watch the song video one more time again? When it's at the end.
No, we'll go watch it tomorrow again. This
Okay.
one is more about life in Mesopotamia. So the Sumerians, this video, if you're on my screen right now, the
Is it
Sumerians
kind
are the
of-
people that lived in Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamia is like the country, right? And Sumerians are the people that live there. So we're going to watch this video. It kind of gives you a little bit of the way of life of Mesopotamia, and then we'll be done for the day.
Is that like the Renaissance kind of? Because I've been to the Renaissance Festival.
They're actually different time periods. The Renaissance happens much later in time than the
I've been to
Sumerian.
the Renaissance Festival.
It's fun there. Like
Yeah,
the
I'd like to
Turkey
go.
Lakes.
But
Have you been to it, Miss Jones?
no, I'd like to go one day though.
They're like
I'm gonna see if I
they
can
have
find
turkey
Dallas.
legs.
I won't eat a turkey leg, but
They're good.
Don, I'm
Right.
gonna see if I can find you. It's a big place, so it might not happen, but I'm gonna see if I can find you next time I go.
I saw
Okay?
Miss McClellan there.
Miss Jones, am I presenting on your screen?
no,
Oh, okay.
I'm presenting. All right, let's go ahead and mute our mics. We're gonna watch this one video and we'll be done for the day. So go ahead and mute mics.
Can you see it? Hold on.
All right. Here we go. The Sumerians.
Hey, Moby. What is best in life? Wrong, dude. Wrong. It's crush your enemies, see them driven before you. You know what? Get the rest. Hey, Moby. Moby, help me answer this letter. Dear Tim and Moby, who were the Sumerians? from dawn. The Sumerians were the inhabitants of Sumer, one of the oldest known civilizations in history. Oh, a civilization is an advanced society with complex social, cultural, and political systems. The Sumerians arrived on the scene as early as 5300 BCE and built a civilization that lasted more than 3,000 years. It was located in an area of the world known as Mesopotamia. That was a plain between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, in what today is the country of Iraq. Those rivers flooded frequently, which made the land really fertile, but also swampy and difficult to live on. Sometime around 3500 BCE, though, the Sumerians figured out how to control the flooding. They developed something called irrigation. They constructed canals and artificial flood banks called levees. These structures diverted water and helped them grow crops and raise livestock. Right, Sumer was one of the earliest societies to develop agriculture. That's the cultivation of plants and animals for food and other uses. Before agriculture, hunter-gatherers depended on the natural world to provide for them. But farming gave people a steady way to produce food. In Sumer, irrigation let farmers produce more food than they could eat themselves. As agricultural technology improved, the excess of food grew even larger. That allowed some people to make their living in ways other than farming. People began to specialize in pot making, metalworking, building, baking, weaving, and sculpting. That's called division of labor, and it's the basis of any advanced civilization. It lets people concentrate on something other than where their next meal is coming from. And that leads to the rise of cities. Sumerian city-states originally grew around simple temples. These temple structures later expanded into massive ziggurats, which were pyramids made of terraces linked by ramps and stairs. Well, there are about a dozen independent Sumerian city-states. They shared a common language and culture, but they weren't united under a single government or ruler. Each city-state worshipped its own god or goddess, who they believed actually lived inside the ziggurat. Each city-state was ruled by a king-like figure called an ensi, who doubled as the high priest. Ensis led the military, acted as judges, presided over religious ceremonies, and kept an eye on trade. Well, the reason we know so much about the Sumerians was that they were among the first people to develop a written language. Writing came about as a way to keep a record of their trading with other city-states and cultures. At first, they kept records using pieces of clay as tokens. These gradually developed into pictures and symbols that represented specific objects. By around 3100 BCE, the symbols had turned into a whole system of wedge-shaped marks and lines called cuneiform. But writing wasn't their only bright idea. The Sumerians also codified the first system of written laws and a system of government to enforce them. Bronze was another major development. The Sumerians mixed tin and copper to make tools and weapons out of this sturdy metal. The Sumerians also came up with a number system based on 60. They were the ones who divided the hour into 60 minutes and the circle into 360 degrees. We still do that today. They even invented the first wheeled vehicle, which meant that wagons could be used to carry loads for long distances. Well, neighboring groups eventually conquered them and absorbed a lot of Sumerian culture. Much of that culture was passed down to the ancient Greeks and Romans, and eventually on to us. Right, which means we have the Sumerians to blame for my geometry homework.
Alrighty. So, that is the extent of what we're going to do today for social studies.